fine with me.
It's up to you.
Yeah, okay.
Always a good way to be. Good evening. We're going to call to order this session of the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting. Our first item of business is the minutes of the regular HRA meeting of October 17th, 2016.
I'll move the minutes.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any discussion items or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've approved the minutes. Our second order of business is adoption or approval of the agenda.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've approved this evening's agenda. Next, we have the consent calendar. Mr. Stark?
Thank you, Chair Supple, Commissioners. The consent calendar contains two separate items tonight, which would be acted upon by the HRA in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended actions have also been approved, and no further HRA action would be necessary. Any commissioner may request an item be removed from the consent calendar and placed on the regular agenda if desired. All items listed on the consent calendar are recommended for approval. Item A, consideration of a resolution accepting contributions for the 2016 tour of remodeled homes. And item B is consideration of a resolution to acquire redevelopment property from the city of Richfield. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the calendar.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Any discussion items? All in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've approved the consent calendar. Our next item of business is consideration of an amendment to the contract for private development between the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority and Mesaba Capital Development, LLC, for the development of the former City Garage property at 211 West 76th Street and 7644 Pillsbury Avenue. Mr. Stark.
Yes, thank you, Chair Supple. I'm actually going to ask Assistant Director Barton to give the staff report.
Thank you, Chair Supple and Commissioners. On February 16th, 2016, the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority and Mesaba Capital Development, LLC, entered into a contract for private development for the development of the former City Garage site. The agreement set forth the terms of the sale of the property, specifying the closing to occur on or before August 31st of this year, and commencement of construction to begin by November 1st of this year. Due to a delay in approvals from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, the developer requested the closing be extended to October 31st of this year, as was permitted under the terms of the agreement, provided certain provisions were met by the developer. Unfortunately, the delay in the MPCA approval subsequently resulted in a delay of the developer's financing approvals, which prevented the developer from closing on the property by October 31st. The developer is therefore requesting an extension of the closing to occur on or before March 31st of 2017, with commencement of construction to begin no later than June 30th, 2017. Additionally, the developer is proposing to enter into an agreement with Avinity for the development of the property. Avinity currently owns and operates Main Street Village Senior Housing at 76th Street and Lyndale in Richfield. The agreement between the HRA and Mesaba would be amended to allow for the transfer of the development property and the minimum improvements to Avinity or any affiliate of Avinity, so long as the HRA, the developer, and Avinity enter into a written assignment and assumption agreement whereby Avinity is bound by all the developer's obligations under the original agreement. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions. The developer is also here this evening if you have any questions for him.
All right, Commissioner Rubenstein.
Yes. And my question regards Avinity. That is not the name I remember as having the developer or manager of Main Street. Has that management changed, or has Avinity is a change in name from the previous management of the existing management.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, yeah, when the Main Street Village opened, it was operated by Twin City Christian Homes.
Right.
Twin City Christian Homes changed their name to Avinity.
Okay.
And there may have been some, acquisitions and mergers involved, but in terms of working with the people on site that are managing it has been a continuous group.
Okay. I suspected that. I just wanted to clarify it.
Okay,
Yes,
other questions, Commissioner?
I'm just curious, what benefit to the HRA or to the city is there in the developer transferring or assigning its interest? What's Mesaba doing now?
I would probably defer that over to Mesaba, and they can answer what their interest in is in merging with Avinity or transferring the
I
development.
don't
over
think
to
it's a
Avinity.
merger, it's a transfer.
Yeah, transferring or working with them.
And can you identify yourself for
Sure.
the record?
My name is Bo Nikloff, Mesaba Capital Development, 10700 Normandale Boulevard, Bloomington, Minnesota. Chair, Commissioners, to your question, Commissioner Elliott, we're still in the partnership with Avinity, so we're not really transferring. It'll be kind of going with them. They want to own it at some point, though, and take full ownership, so we're going to continue the development all the way through construction with them.
Okay, I mean, well, then the way the memo is written, it says the agreement between the HRA and Mesaba would be amended to allow for the transfer of the developmental property, which would imply to me that Mesaba is transferring its interest in the property and Avina is going to be doing the construction.
It
and
won't,
the management.
no, it wouldn't be immediately. We'd do it in co-development, and then they'd eventually take it over. So we will continue through the development with them. So maybe it just reads co-develop with them.
Okay. I guess I'm sure there's a business purpose for it. I'm just trying to understand why now?
Well, just when we talked with the staff and going through what we thought would be the best way to convey the message to everybody is that there'd be a time when they're gonna take it over, and we wanted to at least up front know that they want to own it like they do with their other properties.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a good company.
Commissioner Gotel?
I would, actually, please stay up here. I just wanted to know, because I saw that, I knew that the MPCA had delayed this project because they wanted further exploration. Can you speak to that and what did
Sure,
they
yeah.
find or not find?
We engaged Braun Airtech, who had done our phase 1 as well, and the phase 2 that the city had done on the site was back, I think it was in the 2007 or 8, and so the MPCA has a time period that they said that it had expired,
Okay.
had to be within, I believe, 4 years. So we had to go ahead and do that, but that was kind of a last minute. We didn't realize that they were going to request us that. We thought the information we had from the previous phase 2 that the city had done would suffice.
Were there any findings?
No, nothing that it was the same as before, just minimal.
So as a follow-up to that, have you now completed the MPCA requirements?
Correct, yeah, we have the letters and everything. We have the phase 2 complete and have all that documented, so.
So
No.
so you're doing the financial part next, and that's why we're needing the extension?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
We couldn't start that till we had everything, and so now we're having a different meeting with the financing groups.
All right, are there any further questions?
I
Mr.
have
Gepner?
some questions. Is it Bo?
Yes,
Bo, I'm trying to understand your industry and business. So is Mesaba Capital get a group of investors together and then they look for a site to build a senior facility and then those investors either, remain ownership and then there's a management company, or how does that all work?
yeah, Mesaba Capital Development is a merchant development where we, in senior housing, so we look for the sites, secure the sites, and then go through the approval process. During that time, we do look for partners that would be owner-operators. Similar project like this we did in Edina, where we secured the site, carried it through the development work, the city got the approvals, and then the owner-operator for that site was Tealwood. They came in and then took over once construction started.
And then you're out of it?
We may have a small ownership, but we help, we can stay in it as much as you want. At that time, like for example, Tealwood, they had their own development team, so they said we'd take it over. with Avinity, we may stay all the way through the process with them because they don't have as much of a development group as some of the other.
And I'm probably asking from a personal interest. My mother lives in the Sugarloaf development in Winona. Is that one of your projects?
No, that's not one of ours. No.
But it was listed in the brochure as something that Mesaba was involved in when you were making the proposal at one time.
Oh, we had worked with one of the operators there. Yeah, sorry, with Sugarloaf, but that wasn't a project we did directly, but we helped them.
Okay.
Commissioner
It's
Elliott?
more, it's somewhat speculative on my part, but my recollection is when Mesaba came to us with the proposal for the old garage site, that we received some comments and some indication from some of the neighbors or the city constituents that Main Street Village was just down the street and that it was
Yes.
kind of clustering senior housing and everything. And my guess is, had it been known at that time that Main Street was going to ultimately have a major ownership interest in this, we'd get much more pushback.
Possibly.
And I'm only raising that issue in terms of transparency because we don't want to be put in a position where you're doing well and we like what you brought to us. But I think part of the process involved it was Mesaba that was building and managing, not that somebody that was 2 blocks away ultimately was going to take it over and have an additional property, particularly given some of the neighbors thought there was too close a proximity to additional senior citizen housing. So I mean, it's just a point in terms of making sure that we try to keep everything as transparent as possible so the people that do have concerns about that can address it at the proper time. We're past that now, and I'm going to move forward with the project, but I think I had to make a point about the change in ownership being somewhat of a concern, I'm sure, to some of our citizens in the future.
All right. Commissioner
I
Gotel?
want to follow up because, you know, I understand how you'd feel, and I know who those residents are who might have some concerns. So I agree. The one thing, though, that I would say on the other side of that is that I've been over to Main Street a lot, and they're good management. They do a really
I
good
don't
job.
think-
So that's one thing. Well, we don't always have that in places.
I know, I in no
So-
way was implying that
I
they
know
weren't
you
good
weren't, but I wanted
management.
to
I was just
say,
talking about the
yeah.
proximity and the
I
change in
understand.
ownership.
I understand that. I just think that at least one thing I am happy about, though, is that we've got people who really know how to manage these facilities and do very well and do great upkeep and everything. And I know when we've been over there and asked them to do things, they're very cooperative in the whole
Right.
scheme of things. So that's one of the things that's nice to hear, too. Yeah.
Mr. Stark, did you have something to add?
Well, yeah, thank you, Chair Supple. I would just add that, staff, we knew, I don't know if I would say from the beginning, but we knew from fairly early on that Mesaba was not in the business of managing senior facilities. We knew that they were in the business of developing them and that there would be a second party that would be, at the very least, on-site managing. We had no idea who that party would be. In our discussions with Bo, I think we've heard 7 or 8 different names over time.
But John, you would agree with me that this goes a little bit beyond managing.
It does at this point. It does. And I think we learned within the past maybe 30 to 60 days that it was that further extent that you're talking about.
And like I said, I'm not against it. It's just the point that people had some concerns about that, and now the way it's come about, their concerns, I'm not saying they're justified, but what they were concerned about seems to have come true. And I agree with the mayor and the commissioner that Main Street does a wonderful job of managing and organizing and running the facility. So I don't have any problems with that. It's just the appearance.
Right. And I
Yeah.
understand that. Hopefully there will actually be less impact on the neighborhood this way, because it could be the case that instead of having 2 different facilities, that there's some economies with the employees, and instead of having an employee drive to Main Street and an employee drive to this facility, that in very specific instances it may be the same employee.
Right.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would add that that's one of the things with Avinity. We had, as Mr. Stark had indicated, we had been talking to several operators, so there was probably a group, then we got it down to the final 3, that one of those 3 would come along, but we did see a lot of very strong synergies with Avinity to Mr. Stark's point that they even told us they're gonna be able to share, job duties, which is exciting on their end too, because they think they can do a good job with just being 3 blocks away.
Agree. Well, Madam Chair, at this point, I would make a motion then to approve the resolution approving the First Amendment to the contract for private development with Mesaba Capital Development, LLC.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we've approved the motion. Thank you. Moving on, item 5 is consideration of the terms of a community development block grant, homebuyer assistance secondary mortgage relating to the purchase of a home recently remodeled under the new home program at 7305 17th Avenue, pending final attorney approval. Mr. Stark.
Yes, thank you, Chair Supple. Actually, on this one, I think I'm going to be handling audiovisual duties and passing the report on to Assistant Director Barton.
Thank you, Chair Supple and Commissioners. In the spring of 2016, the Greater Metropolitan Housing Corporation purchased a distressed property at 7305 17th Avenue on behalf of the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority. It's on the computer, I'm sorry. This home was purchased as part of the HRA's new home program, utilizing community development block grant funds with the intention of renovating it and selling it to a qualified buyer. CDBG funding does require that the property be sold to a household earning 80% of the area median income or less. In an effort to recoup a portion of the HRA's investment into this property while still maintaining affordability, staff is recommending that the buyer be required to enter into a second mortgage with the HRA for an amount not to exceed $15,000. This 0% interest deferred loan will be due and payable upon the sale of the home or at the end of 30 years from the date of the mortgage, whichever occurs first. The funds will assist in making the home more affordable to the buyer by allowing for a larger down payment, but will be required to be paid back and returned to the city upon resale to be recycled back into the CDBG programming areas. A homebuyer education course may also be required as part of the secondary mortgage financing. With that,
And
yeah.
what I'm showing here are the after photos. If you
Yeah,
can
there's
see
some
them on your
before and after there if you have, but those are ones, I don't know if you can see them. They did a really great job on this property. Beautiful.
So the property has been redeveloped and now they're getting ready to put it on the market? Is that why we're doing this?
Yes, it's actually been listed. The property was purchased it's being listed for $215,000, and the HRA put about $65,000 with CDBG funds into renovating the property and rehabbing.
Can you roll
it.
that again? I didn't have this up. Can you roll the pictures again? Oh, okay. So it is a Rambler. I know which one it is. Okay. Yeah.
And there have been several parties that have expressed interest in the property, including the daughter of the person who lives next door.
Oh, it's very nice. But it looks very clean and very nice.
Yes, they did a beautiful job on it.
I'll show the befores again real quick.
Given the time on the market of homes priced at
yeah.
that, it's got about 5 days, I would guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they move really quickly.
That
Yep.
article in yesterday's Star Tribune about houses under $250,000 just
Yeah.
speaks to Richfield. Boy.
Yeah. Well, not only that, we have good tax base too, not high taxes either. Excellent, beautiful project.
Are there any other questions?
The only thing when I was, excuse me, may I be recognized? The only thing when I was looking at this about the second mortgage thing, I am not a mortgage wizard or anything, but when we've seen it in the past when we were the mortgage holder and there was a subordinate mortgage and there were problems with banks when people wanted to refinance, et cetera. And I was wondering if there might be any relation or any similarities that we might come into any problems like this in the future. Probably not, because I'm not a mortgage expert. But in refinancing, et cetera, we were always having problems having to subordinate our claim on a property to a bank when they wanted to do that kind of refinancing.
In this situation, we would be subordinate to the primary mortgage. So it would come up in the future if they were to look to refinance their mortgage. Then they would have to request a subordination from the HRA at that time.
Are we going to be putting any kind of qualifications on mortgages for this, that it be a regular mortgage and not a balloon mortgage or anything like that?
It will be essentially a balloon mortgage because
It will
it's
be.
due and payable upon sale or at the end of 30
But not
years.
an adjustable rate particularly?
There's no interest rate on it.
Okay,
It's 0% interest.
okay.
Can I clarify, though, when you're asking about the type of mortgage, are you talking about the $15,000?
No,
or
the
the
other,
main
the
mortgage?
main
Because I
mortgage.
think that was a different question that got
Yeah.
answered.
The main mortgage, they go out and obtain the mortgage themselves, but there are requirements that the Greater Metropolitan Housing Corporation sets, that they cannot exceed 33% of their income nor be below 28% of their income for the mortgage payment.
Okay, so it's our portion that doesn't have the interest.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner Gepner?
Yeah, is it just a coincidence that the amount of money put in the house just brought it up to what it's worth? I've seen this television program where they flip them and they make money on them. Why, what happened here?
It just worked out that the market value came back right around equivalent to what we put in, I believe. Yeah. So.
Mr.
You know,
Stark?
we're just trying to protect our money in this. We put in a fair amount of money. This is something we're choosing. We're asking you to choose to do. There's nothing saying we have to do this. If this owner were to turn around and sell the property next week, next year, they would realize quite a market value increase, an increase over the
Likely,
sales
yeah.
price, much of it on the backs of the CDBG we threw into it. So this is a way to say that, we at least at the end of this want to get, we put 65,000 into the rehab through CDBG. We at least want to get 15,000 back out of it to recycle that into other programs.
And it makes it affordable.
That was helpful,
Yeah, it
knowing
makes
what
it
the
affordable.
motivation
So is it worth more than the 215?
The estimated market value is the 215.
Is that pretty standard for that part of the city and that kind of a house?
It is.
It is,
It is for
okay.
over there. And we did not have them finish the basement. They cleaned it up. They put in a bathroom down there and an egress window, but did not finish it beyond that. We left that for future of the homeowner if they choose to do that.
Do we have any further questions? Would someone like to make the motion?
I'd like, let me get my, correct. Somebody else want to do it while I'm getting myself.
Should we already make the motion?
No.
No, we have to.
Then I would like to move that we approve the terms of Community Development Block Grant Homebuyer Assistance Secondary Mortgage for the purchase of 7305 17th Avenue, pending final attorney approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have passed the motion. Moving on to item number 6, we have HRA discussion items. One that's listed here deals with rescheduling the January and February 2017 HRA meetings due to holidays. So our regular meeting would have been on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and so we would like to, it's suggested here that we reschedule from Monday the 16th to Tuesday the 17th. The other one would have been President's Day in February, and it's suggested we move from February 20th to February 21st. So is there any objection to that? do we need to make that an official motion, Mr. Stark?
I'm not sure.
Why don't we
Being not
just
sure, there wouldn't be any harm in doing so.
So it'd be safe to do it? All right.
I'll make the motion then for rescheduling the meetings.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to reschedule the meetings to Tuesday, January 17th and Tuesday, February 21st. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of rescheduling the meetings, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've rescheduled the meetings. Are there other discussion items? Commissioner Gotel.
Madam Chair, I have already been contacted in my new future role about housing, and one of the conversations were about affordable housing with several groups, but I was with Commissioner Marion Green, who has talked to us about the pool of money they are putting together to actually buy and convert projects, much like what happened with Crossroads at Penn and Concierge, but the county is now going to get into this or buy down portions of it to keep the affordability in here. So I thought I would talk about this. The pool of money is going to be significant. It's going to be $25 million. I just know through general conversations I've had that several people have been looking at Seasons Park. And so it would be nice to get into those conversations sooner rather than later, to see if some of that money could be directed there to at least keep some of those buildings at an affordable. We have Section 8 in there, and it much needs the upgrade, probably even worse than Crossroads did. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and as I look at going to the county board, I'd be happy to further discuss that with the city officials and the HRA about how we might facilitate better to keeping some of the affordability in some of those apartments.
Clarify for me, who then actually uses the money and purchases the building?
They've looked at two different scenarios. One of the things is they buy into the building to keep a portion of an apartment. So the county does have significant dollars in a contract and buys into it, or they totally buy it and do it, flip it themselves.
Who manages it? The county?
The county will have somebody that will hire the management. It's an interesting proposition to keep some of the affordability into communities.
I understand the affordability. I'm not all that excited about the community managing.
Yeah, well, I don't know who would actually, if they
Well,
would
see,
hire it
that's-
out.
I'm wondering if
I
we
think
can-
some of that's still being worked out because they're still collecting the dollars, but several nonprofits have already stepped up and the pool will be there quickly,
I'd
which is
be
really
more
nice to hear.
comfortable with nonprofits rather than the county.
Well, and we might be doing that. I mean, I don't think that the county has the personnel to manage it anyway. I suspect that would be the case. Somebody else would be managing it.
And
So it'd be interesting.
So it would be used then to upgrade it so that the quality is improved, which has been a concern, that we want to have quality affordable housing.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is also the way to keep, I mean, even though the concierge is affordable, it's not affordable at the same level it was. This would allow us to keep at least some of the units affordable at the same levels, because the county would control it.
Yep, Madam Chair and Commissioner Gotel, yep, we have talked to county officials about that. It's called the NOAA Fund. And I think the way it sounds like it's be most likely to work would be something we were just talking about, a second mortgage from the county to kind of write down some of the costs of development in exchange for the developer agreeing to keep rents affordable at a certain level. But I do think that they are trying to find as many, creative ways of using the money as they can.
Yeah,
so.
They have talked about even outright buying some.
Yep, and we've talked to, I believe, 2 developers. We've pointed them toward NOAA people. Right now, there is a lot of interest in investing. The foreign markets, prefer to invest in United States currency because of the stability. And over the past, X years, they've done so on the coasts and have run out of projects on the coasts to put their money into, and they've discovered a place called the Midwest. And so they're now coming to Chicago and to Minneapolis to invest their monies. So we are getting calls from people saying, we've got investors looking for apartment buildings to buy and flip or buy and do something with. And so this would be a good way to do that, to accommodate those funds coming into the community, but keep the affordability. And these investors oftentimes are not managers, so the local management companies would remain involved, or probably some of the local professional management companies that's all they do, names like Stephen Scott.
Well, I think upgrading the quality while maintaining the affordability and
Yep.
keeping the stability so that people aren't moving around so much, that's also good for the school children as well.
Exactly.
For not having people moving in and out and all over the place.
Well, you know, it just disrupts the whole community. And what it does is it just pushes them into other places where they're already, the next building that's going to be the problem, and it's going to be flipped. So they end up moving from one to one as they start to get bought up. Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Thank you for bringing that. Are there other items? All right, if there are none, then we will move on to the executive director report. Mr. Stark?
Yes, the next regularly scheduled HRA meeting is for December 19th. That is an evening when and I hope I'm not ruining any surprises, that's the evening when city staff is hoping to host a celebration for outgoing city council member and HRA Commissioner Gotel, as well as outgoing city council member Fitzhenry. If we can work it out, we wouldn't have an HRA meeting that night. Instead, dedicate that time to that celebration. But there may be some one or two end-of-year housekeeping kinds of things that might necessitate a very brief meeting in there. We'll see where that goes.
No surprises. I actually working with Steve to make sure that it goes off. They have to schedule around my schedule. So.
All right. And so you'll keep us apprised to that?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Mr. Gepner?
Question, did we get an email? I didn't remember seeing it, but I didn't look real carefully. It was a busy day.
We did.
On clerk claims and payroll.
Yeah, we did?
I did.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It came today?
No. Came
It's
last
always,
week.
yeah, it's always early.
Yeah, it was early.
So you missed the
Claims and payroll.
the 1,374,000 payable directly to John Stark.
I
You
did
go
miss-
ahead and vote. That's fine.
As long as you brought it up, I was going to ask about that.
Mr. Stark is looking for unaffordable housing.
Oh, there you go. All right, so any other questions?
No, I have good and welfare.
All right, well,
Okay.
should we finish the
Okay.
claims and payroll?
Yep.
And then we'll go to good and welfare?
Okay.
All right, so all in favor of approving claims and payroll, please say aye.
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 All opposed? We've approved the claims and payroll. Commissioner Rubenstein?
You beat me to the punch, but I did want to congratulate Mayor Gotel on her election to the county board, Hennepin County Board, and congratulate Councilmember Elliott on his reelection.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Mhm. Thanks.
All right.
It was because I voted for both of you.
Yes, it was.
All right, well, are there any other items? Then we'll end on a positive note. The meeting is adjourned.